Big Brother, mainstream media, government cover-ups. You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas, Alex Jones.
The Congress announcing there's no more Fourth Amendment, and that's how it reads. He has been speaking out against this for many years, and he is quite a leader when it comes to the issues of freedom. He is former governor of Minnesota, of course, Hollywood movie star, best-selling author, TV talk show host. The list goes on and on. Quite the Renaissance man, Governor Jesse Ventura. Governor, thanks for spending time with us today.
Hi, Alex. How you doing today on I guess we'd say a sad day in America?
Yeah, I've always wondered what it was like for my grandparents to live through the Depression, and it looks like we might be going into one.
Yeah, there's no, it was interesting the other day. I was watching on television up here, and one of the local stations, they have a segment called where you can ask a question. And the question was, how do we make a strong dollar again? How do we get the dollar strong? Because obviously the dollar has fallen through the floor. I mean, there's half a dozen countries now that have a higher value or more than that than us. And so they went to Hamlin University here in Minnesota, and they went to the head of economics and I forget his other title, but it was appropriate. Please excuse me, I just got done working out, so if I'm breathing a little heavy, I just got off the elliptic machine.
Hey, that's great.
But anyway, he listed, in order to bring the dollar to be strong again, it's the exact two things that I've been harping on for the last month and a half. Number one, to make the dollar strong, this professor said, is the debt. We must do something about the $9 trillion plus debt we owe throughout the world now. And he said the number two thing that is driving the dollar to its weakness is the war in Iraq. So the very two issues that are highest on my board are the very two issues that this expert said it would take to bring the dollar back, but apparently our country and most of the people in it aren't that worried about it.
You're right, Governor. The elite have made the decision to continue the devaluation of the dollar. Obviously, having the high debt means people don't buy our securities, so the dollar's devalued. That's 70+% of it. The other 25% is, of course, the speculation being driven by the war drums for Iran. You're absolutely right. The professor's right. The establishment knows that. Why do you think they're not going to reverse the destruction of our currency?
Because I don't think they really care. You know, they're making their money, and they're in their position, and you know, to me, it's clear that there's a war on the middle class in America today, being waged by our own government, and they're out to destroy what was the American dream, and the American dream was really the middle class. We were the country where you could go get a job, and you could support your family, and you could live a life with a fair dream in it, and that's being extinguished greatly today, and it seems our elected, illustrious officials don't have a problem with it. Or they'll say they do, but what they do and what they say are generally two different things.
We're going to break in just a moment and come back in a long segment to go through a lot of important issues, Governor. But first off, let's spend about a minute on your book. It's doing quite well. For those that don't know about your new book, tell us about it.
Well, it's called Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. I wrote it while I was living in Mexico with Dick Russell, a friend of mine and a writer, and you know, I just felt it was time for a bit of a wake-up call to the United States. I felt that way. You know, I'm probably not too mainstream today, I guess. But I felt that we needed a wake-up call to get back to our roots and get back to paying attention to the Constitution and what formed our great country, because we've certainly seemed to have taken a path away from the Constitution, especially most recently in the last 8 years, and we don't seem to be heading back towards it. So I felt it was a wake-up call for the lemmings here in the country that march off the cliff and don't look side to side, they just do it. And
absolutely, Governor.
That's the reason I wrote the book.
Fantastic. Stay there. Back in 3 quick minutes with Governor Jesse Ventura. Former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura is our guest. New book out on the New York Times bestseller list. Don't Start the Revolution Without Me. He's with us for the rest of the hour. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to do something we haven't done on the other 2 interviews with him. We've been lucky enough to have. And that's take some of your phone calls specifically to the governor about his take on what's happening in our society at 1-800-259-9231. Governor, I want to pick your brain about the war, the economy, the Fourth Amendment under attack, all these issues. But obviously, you know what I'm going to ask first here, now that we're into the interview. And I've learned to not trust the mainstream media. Last week, I called you at home, and you said, no, I did not tell NPR that I was that I had committed to run. I'll announce that next Monday or Tuesday. Sure enough, the ABC headline said Governor will run. I went and listened to the interview. You said, if I decide to run, here is why I will run. Then ABC had to retract, and Drudge had to retract what they had said. So this time, I don't want to go off what the news is saying. Other news is reporting that you're going to announce either way tonight on Larry King. A, is that accurate, or will it be tomorrow?
No, I guess it's accurate. Everybody tells me I will tonight, so, you know. I guess it's kind of out of my hands. I don't want to be called a liar.
Amazing. Well, how could ABC run that headline that you announced last Thursday when NPR's headline said why Governor Ventura may run? I mean, how could ABC just make that up?
Well, they make everything up. You know, they're in the business for money. They're in the business of ratings. And so if they can beat all the other networks to the punch, they're going to do it. And accuracy is a secondary thing now. I mean, if they get it wrong, they just simply do a little blurb a day later if they have to. And most of the time, they won't even bother with that.
Governor, you kind of came out for 9/11 Truth on this show unannounced. I had no idea you were going to do that 4 or 5 months ago, and that caused a national firestorm. Why not go ahead and tell us if you're going to run for Senate right now on this show?
Because it's the middle of the afternoon, and I don't want to be sieged with the media for the rest of the day. Is that a good answer?
That is a good one, but let me make a guess.
And then the point is, if I say it right now, that's what'll happen. I think I'd rather say it this evening where I can, like a good Navy SEAL, run off in the shadows and disappear.
Well, here is my take on it. You wrote a book saying, don't start the revolution without me. I'm sure you've decided it's now the eve of, or the day of, you making the announcement, the eve of the deadline, to be technical. And I'm going to make the guess, and it's not a wild guess, in fact, I'm going to predict you're going to announce you're running for Senate, and this is why you're going to announce you're running for Senate tonight on Larry King, because you love this country. You saw him shoot down the Fourth Amendment last week. You see us about to go to war with Iran that'll further tank the economy. You know we need your voice in the Senate, and you love this republic, and so you're going to serve the republic one more time, and you know you've already beaten the sorry excuse for a human being for governor that's running for Senate as well, and so you've been drafted by the American people, and we're not going to start the revolution without you, and so you are drafted, you're running for the Senate, Jesse Ventura, and we all know it, aren't you?
Oh, Alex, you might be premature. Don't go that far. Wait till Larry King tonight.
Well, then, you better announce you're running for Senate.
What do you mean I better?
Well, you've got higher numbers in the polls this time.
I understand all that, but let me say this, Alex. It will be a total personal decision, and my family will bear in it a great deal, because you cannot do one of those jobs without the support of your family. And if my family's support is not there, I will not do it, because, well, I'll give you one example. I'm not going to subject my children to be attacked by the media again. That weighs heavily on me. So what my children say to me is going to have a great bearing on the decision that I make.
Have they said it? I mean, have you made your decision?
Not quite yet. I have another child to speak with.
Well, I would like to speak to them and say, look, we need you to gut up for the country. I mean, I understand they went through a lot. In fact, when We Are Change Minnesota was up there talking to you at a book signing, you would talk to them, but you wouldn't talk to the media. You don't talk to the Minnesota media. Why is that?
I don't talk to them because they attacked my children when I was governor. The story and the way it went down was I had left to go on the largest trade mission in U.S. history to China. I led a trade mission to China from Minnesota. And none of the media here bothered to send anyone on the trade mission. It was the June before the following fall's re-election. And so none of them chose to go on the trade mission. And here I'm doing something that will directly benefit every person eventually in the state of Minnesota. Instead, they went out and trumped up a big story on my son. There was a disgruntled employee that we fired who decided to get his 15 minutes of fame, and he accused my son of underage drinking in the governor's residence. Well, first of all, my son was 22. So I find that a bit peculiar, because nowhere in this country are you underage at 22. Second of all, the media didn't bother to question this employee at all. And ask him the very simple question, Alex. He went home every day at 5 o'clock. How would he know what went on at midnight? They ran with the story. They trashed my son completely. They put the CBS investigative I team onto his friends to try to dig up anything they could on my son. And then the day I got back from the trade mission from China, the headlines in the paper were nothing to do with the trade mission. It had everything to do with accusing my son.